So hello students, our today's topic is root canal obturation. So what is root canal obturation? The root canal obturation, it is a three-dimensionally filling of the entire root canal system with the biologically acceptable material. So the material, the canal system, it is obturated with core material and minimum amount of the sealer. So why do we obturate the root canal? So following thorough cleaning and shaping, the root canal system it is obturated in order to provide the system a airtight seal. So the obturation will prevent number one, it will prevent the movement of the microorganisms into the root canal system by the coronal leakage. Or second, it will prevent the multiplication of the microorganisms in the root canal system. Third, it will prevent the percolation of the tissue fluids into the pulp space via apical foramen. And lastly, it will prevent the bacterial percolation into the pulp canal space via interconnection with the gingival sulcus or the periodontal pocket. So what should be the clinical goal of the root canal system? Suppose being a dentist, your your goal of the root canal obturation is to fill the empty space and achieve a hermetic seal and prevent any bacteria activity that would infiltrate into the periapical tissue. So when do you obturate the root canal? So number one, you obturate the root canal when there is absence of pain and swelling. Second, there is no tenderness on percussion. No sinus tract is could be seen. And the most important point is the canals are totally dry. If the canals are totally dry, you obturate the root canal. The canal should be odor free. There should be no odor. What are the cases in which obturation should not be carried out immediately? In teeth with the apical periodontitis, with exudate, excessive exudate or purulent discharge, or in cases with the retreatment cases or complex treatment like the perforation repair. Now the obturating material they have been classified into plastics like Gutta Percha, Resilon, metal cores like silver points, coated cones, cements and paste like hydrone, MTA, calcium phosphate, or the Gutta flow. What should be the characteristic of an ideal root canal filling material? Number one, it should seal the canal laterally and apically. It should be dimensionally stable after being inserted. It should be bacteriostatic or does not promote any bacterial growth. Should be radio opaque, non-staining to tooth, non-irritating, sterile, and it should be easily removed from the canal if required. Now, why do we use sealers? So the sealers, they are the integral part of the successful obturation. Why? Because they bridge the empty spaces between the dentinal walls and the obturating material. So they will fill the gap between the core segments. So they are able to fill any irregularities within the canal system and also to occlude the accessory canals as well as isthmus between the canal. Gutta Percha. What is Gutta Percha? It's coagulated extract of the plants. So Gutta Percha, it is a dried coagulated extract that is derived from the Brazilian trees. What is the composition of Gutta Percha? So it has a matrix, filler, radio opacifier, and the plasticizers. The amount of Gutta Percha is 20%. The Gutta Percha will act as a matrix What is the filler content in the Gutta Percha? It's the zinc oxide with the maximum percentage of 66%. It was asked in your entrance exam, what is the composition of zinc oxide? That is the inorganic filler in Gutta Percha. It is 66%. The heavy metals can be added, they are in 11%, and the plasticizers like wax or resins, they are in 3% concentration. So what happens when Gutta Percha is exposed to air and the light? On exposure to the air and light, what you will notice that the Gutta Percha will can become oxidized and they will become brittle. So that is why we have to store them in a cool and dry place, that is a refrigerator, for better shelf life. Now what are the forms in which Gutta Percha is available? The Gutta Percha, it can be available in different forms like alpha form, beta form, and amorphous form. So the alpha form is of lower viscosity, beta form is of higher viscosity, whereas the gamma form, it is a unstable form. So the alpha form is little bit tacky, runny and sticky form. So it is available in the form of bars or pellets. It is the alpha form we use in the thermoplastic obturation technique. Whereas the beta form, it is rigid, it is solid, compactable and elongate and having a higher viscosity. So it is a rigid form and it is used for manufacturing Gutta Percha points and the sticks. Whereas the amorphous form, it is available, it exists in the molten state. So this table is very important for exam point of view. What is the difference between the alpha and the beta form? The alpha form, it is brittle at the room temperature. The beta form, it is stable and flexible at room temperature. The alpha form exhibit low viscosity. It is adhesive and highly flowable when heated. Whereas the beta form, it has a higher viscosity, it becomes less adhesive and flowable when heated. So remember, the beta to alpha phase, it is generally reversible. So this phase transformation can occur. The beta form can convert to alpha form. It occurs at the temperature between 42 to 49 degrees Celsius. Whereas the alpha form to amorphous form conversion, it occurs at 53 to 59 degrees Celsius. Important point that you have to remember for your exam point of view is how will you disinfect the Gutta Percha points. The Gutta Percha points, they are immersed in 5.25% of sodium hypochlorite for 1 minute. Remember the concentration, that is it is disinfected in sodium hypochlorite solution for in 5.25 percentage. So as we know that the Gutta Percha, they are used with the sealer. Why? As the Gutta Percha, they lack the adhering qualities. So we need a sealer and a cement to seal the root canal space, as the Gutta Percha lacks the adhering quality. Now this Gutta Percha, it is soluble in certain solvents. What are those solvents? They are chloroform, eucalyptus oil. So remember, when you place Gutta Percha in chloroform solution, eucalyptus oil solution, it will be soluble, and so this property can be used to plasticize the Gutta Percha. Now how do we classify the Gutta Percha? We can classify the Gutta Percha in various forms. According to phases, we can classify the Gutta Percha like alpha, beta form, gamma form. According to size, they can be standardized Gutta Percha or non-standardized Gutta Percha. According to taper, they can be of 0.02, 0.04 or 0.06 taper. According to the mode of use, we classify Gutta Percha as cold Gutta Percha, chemically softened Gutta Percha or thermally softened Gutta Percha. According to calibration, the Gutta Percha can be calibrated Gutta Percha or non-calibrated Gutta Percha. According to the medicament, it can be medicated Gutta Percha or non-medicated Gutta Percha. So what is standardized size Gutta Percha? So these standardized size Gutta Percha, it is available from size 15 to 140 according to the ISO size. So these standardized size, they are indicated where? In the lateral condensation technique. So these standardized Gutta Percha are indicated in the lateral condensation technique. So here the master cone chosen will correspond to the size of the last instrument that you will use during the preparation. So standardized cone, they have tip from 20 to 140 and it has a 2% taper and they are utilized in the lateral condensation. Whereas the non-standardized, they are available in various 9 size, X fine, fine fine, medium fine. The non-standardized size, they are designated as extra fine, medium large or extra large. The most common size that is used are the fine, medium fine size. So the non-standardized sizes, they are generally indicated in the warm vertical compaction technique. What are custom made Gutta Percha? Custom made means they can be self-designed. So what you do is, the 2 or more Gutta Percha, they can be heated and you soak them in a solvent and just roll together between 2 glass slabs, and then they are inserted into the root canal to take the impression of the canal. So where these non-standardized Gutta Percha are used? They are used in cases with the large blunderbuss canals where the diameter of canal is much more than the standardized size of the Gutta Percha that is available. What are the medicated forms of the Gutta Percha? As we know that Gutta Percha, it is an inert material. So certain medicaments have been added in the Gutta Percha that can provide an antibacterial effect and will enhance the healing effect. So the medicaments that can be added are the iodoform containing Gutta Percha, calcium hydroxide containing Gutta Percha, or chlorhexidine containing Gutta Percha. Iodoform Gutta Percha will have an antibacterial effect. The calcium hydroxide containing Gutta Percha will contain 40 to 60% calcium hydroxide. They are used in cases with apexification and as an intracanal medicament. The chlorhexidine containing Gutta Percha, they can be used as intracanal medicaments. These are the physical properties of the Gutta Percha. The values, they can be asked in your entrance exam. So Gutta Percha can be modified. The various modified forms are, it can be surface modified Gutta Percha, medicated Gutta Percha, or nanoparticle enriched Gutta Percha. The surface modified forms are resin coated, glass ionomer coated, bioceramic coated, nor thermal plasma. Medicament Gutta Percha, we have just discussed the forms. The nanoparticle enriched Gutta Percha contains the nano diamond Gutta Percha composite materials or the silver nanoparticle Gutta Percha. Why we use nano diamond Gutta Percha composite materials? So due to their surface chemistry, a broad spectrum antibiotic such as amoxicillin, it can be absorbed to the surface. So that will facilitate the eradication of the residual bacteria within the root canal system after the completion of the obturation. So this will also increase the mechanical properties that will enhance the success rate of the conventional endodontic therapy. The silver nanoparticles coated gutta percha, as we know all that silver ions or salts, they possess sustained ion release, long term antibacterial activity, and have a good biocompatibility. So that is why the gutta percha, the standard gutta percha, it is coated with the nano silver particles. So that will demonstrate a significant antibacterial effect against E. faecalis, S. aureus, Candida albicans, and E. coli bacteria. Does gutta percha causes cross reactivity? In the short supply of the gutta percha, what the manufacturers generally they do is they add the gutta balata, or that is the synthetic trans polyisoprene to the gutta percha cones. These gutta balata are derived from the same botanical family as the rubber tea. So what the gutta balata will do, it will release the proteins. So the use of the gutta blata containing products could potentially place a high latex allergy patient at risk for the allergic reaction. What is the reaction of the gutta percha to the connective tissue? As we know all that gutta percha, it is the least irritating root canal filling material till date. However, once the gutta percha, if it extrudes into the periapical tissue, it can cause foreign body reactions that are the common response that the body that are the common responses that can occur. Small amount of plasticizers, coloring agent, they don't play a major role in irritating quality of the in influencing the irritating quality of the gutta percha. What are the other uses of the gutta percha? Tracing the sinus tract. Yes, we can use the gutta percha to trace through the sinus tract to locate the source of infection and the offending tooth. So you have to just place the gutta percha into the sinus tract and you can locate the position of the tooth to the radiograph or x-ray. What are the other use? We can use gutta percha as a manual dynamic irrigation. So they are used for the manual agitation of the irrigants into the root canal that will improve the cleansing ability of the debris and the disinfection solution to remove the smear layer. They can be also used in the prosthetic implant placement since they are radio opaque, so they can be formed to a desired shape. So it is the material of choice for this purpose. Now, what are the merits and demerits of gutta percha? The merits are it is inert, it can be softened, it is dimensionally stable, it is compactable, it is tissue tolerant, it is radio opaque, it is antibacterial and readily sterilizable. What are the demerits? The demerits will include it lacks rigidity, it lacks the adhesive quality, it can be easily displaced by pressure, and there is lack of the length control. So hello everyone, our today's topic is the dental sealer. The sealer, it plays an important role in the root canal filling. A good sealer should adhere strongly to the dentine and the core material. The sealer should be cohesive. It should have cohesive strength to hold the obturating material together. Ideally, an sealer should be antimicrobial. That would play an important role in the success of the root canal therapy. How do the generally sealers they set? The sealers usually are made up of mixtures that harden through a chemical reaction. So this reaction it occurs due to the release of the toxic material. So that makes the sealer less biocompatible. What are the ideal requirement of the root canal sealer. So it should be tacky when mixed. It provide a good adhesion. It should create a hermetic seal. It should be radio opaque. So we can visualize it through the radiograph. The radio opacity is due to the presence of the salts of the heavy metals like silver, barium, and the bismuth. They provide the radio opacity. And on setting, the cement should not shrink, as we know that all of the sealer shrinks slightly on the setting, and the Gutta Percha, it also shrinks when returned from warm state. So what are the function of the root canal sealer? Number one, the most important function is it is antibacterial agent and a germicidal agent. Second, it acts as a binding agent. So it binds between the filling material. It acts as a binding agent between the filling material and the dentinal walls. It acts as a lubricant. It is radio opaque, gives radio opacity, and act as a obturating material. Now, how do we classify the sealers? We can classify broadly into the eugenol or non-eugenol based sealers. The eugenol sealers can be subdivided like the silver containing cements. They are the Kerr cement and silver free cement, that is the Grossman sealer, Tubely seal, watch paste. So you can get a question in your entrance exam, name a silver free eugenol. The non-eugenol sealers, they will not contain the eugenol. The example, remember the example are diakit, AH26, chloroperca, hydron, glass ionomer, calcium phosphate cement. All these are non-eugenol based cement. The medicated sealers, they are the sealers that have therapeutic properties. Example is diacat, endomethasone, iodoform, etc. According to the Grossman, the methacrylate resin based sealers, they can be classified into 4 generations: first generation, second generation, third generation, and the fourth generation. Endorix is example of methacrylate resin based sealer, and it is a second generation resin based sealer. Epiphany is a third generation methacrylate resin based sealer. The example of the calcium hydroxide based sealer is Seal Apex. So remember, or calcibiotic root canal sealer. The example of resin based sealers is Endoris, AH+, Epiphany. The example of calcium phosphate based sealer is BioSeal. The example of bioactive sealers are the MTA Filapex. What is primary monoblock? Like you did a root canal case and you obturate with a single obturating material. So this one is the example of the primary monoblock. So there is a single interface that is present. In the secondary monoblock, suppose you have a core material and surrounding it you place a sealer. So this one is the example of the secondary monoblock system. So in the secondary monoblock you will have two interfaces. One is between the core material and the sealer, and second is the interface between the sealer and the root canal. So in the tertiary system, in the tertiary monoblock system, you have a core material and something externally to it is added to it. So something externally is added to the core material, and along with that you place a sealer. So that will constitute the tertiary monoblock system. So in that, a 3 interface that will be present. In the tertiary monoblock, there will be interface 1 on the core wall and something that was externally applied on the surface of the core wall. Other is the material that is present on the external wall and between the sealer. And the third is the interface between the sealer and the root ball. The monoblock concept, it was first introduced by Dr. Byron Robin in the field of orthodontics. This terminology refers to a single unit, whereas in the endodontics, the word monoblock, it will represent a compactly filled space with the bonding substrate and the core material that constitute the different material interface. Based on that, the three types of monoblock system, they are available: primary monoblock, secondary monoblock, and the tertiary monoblock. So let us understand that the concept of monoblock by a diagram. So this is the diagram showing the primary, secondary and the tertiary monoblock. So in the primary monoblock, what you will see, there is only one interface that is present between the root canal filling material and the root dentine. Suppose this one is the root filling material, and this one is the root dentine. So in between the root dentine and root filling material, there is single interface. So there is only a one communication. So there is a single interface, meaning a single surface forming a common boundary between the two. So a single circumferential interface that is found between the root canal wall and the obturating material, it is the term is the primary monoblock. What are the example of the primary monoblock? The example of the primary monoblock system, they are the MTA, Hydron and Gutta. So remember, the material under the primary monoblock, they can be manipulated easily. They are non-irritating with acceptable adaptability. The secondary monoblock will have two circumferential interface, one between the cement and dentine and other between cement and the core material. And in tertiary monoblock, a third circumferential interface, it is introduced between the bonding substrate and the abutment material. Important is you have to remember is example of the tertiary monoblock that has been asked in your exam. What is active GP? It is an example of the tertiary monoblock. It is when the conventional Gutta Percha cones that are surface coated with the glass ionomer fillers, they are known as active GP. Other example is the endorized system. Here the conventional Gutta Percha cones, they are coated with resin coating.